the will, the plot, and the fallout. In the quiet town of Willowbrook, nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, a storm was brewing, one that would unravel secrets, expose lies, and bring justice to those who had long evaded it. At the center of it all was Evelyn, a woman whose life had been anything but ordinary. Evelyn had always been a pillar of strength, a quiet force who carried herself with grace despite the chaos that seemed to follow her. She had endured betrayal, manipulation, and loss, but she had never let it break her. Instead, she had grown stronger, her intuition sharper, her resolve unshakable. One crisp February morning, Evelyn received a letter that would change everything. It was from a lawyer, informing her that her estranged uncle, Victor, had passed away. Victor had been a wealthy man, a recluse who had cut ties with the family years ago. The letter stated that Evelyn had been named the executor of his estate and the guardian of his only child, a young boy named Leo. But there was more. Victor had left the bulk of his fortune to Leo, with Evelyn as the trustee until he came of age. The news sent shockwaves through the family, especially Victor's ex-wife, Margaret, and her new husband, Gregory. Margaret had always assumed she would inherit everything, and the revelation that she had been cut out of the will sent her into a rage. Margaret was a woman who thrived on control. She had married Victor for his money, and when their marriage fell apart, she had vowed to get her hands on his fortune one way or another. With Gregory by her side, a man who was just as greedy and ruthless as she was, Margaret began plotting. The first step was to discredit Evelyn. Margaret spread rumors, painting her as an unfit guardian who was only after the money. She even went so far as to hire private investigators to dig into Evelyn's past, hoping to find something, anything that could be used against her. But Evelyn was no fool. She had always been cautious, always aware of the wolves lurking in the shadows. She had spent years building a life of integrity, and there was nothing Margaret could find to tarnish her reputation. As the weeks passed, Margaret's desperation grew. She began to manipulate those around her, including members of Evelyn's own family. She promised them a share of the fortune if they helped her take control of the will. Some, blinded by greed, agreed. Others, like Evelyn's cousin Sarah, saw through Margaret's lies and refused to be part of her schemes. But Margaret wasn't done. She turned to darker methods, hiring a local practitioner of the occult to cast spells and hexes on Evelyn. She believed that if she could break Evelyn's spirit, she could force her to relinquish control of the will. What Margaret didn't know was that Evelyn had her own connection to the spiritual world. She had always been intuitive, able to sense when something was wrong. When the hexes began to take effect, Evelyn fought back, using her own energy to shield herself and Leo. The battle between the two women escalated, each move more dangerous than the last. Margaret's greed consumed her, and she began to make reckless decisions. She forged documents, bribed officials, and even tried to frame Evelyn for a crime she didn't commit. But Margaret's plans began to unravel. The practitioner she had hired turned on her, revealing her schemes to the authorities. The forged documents were discovered, and Margaret's web of lies collapsed. In the end, justice was served. Margaret and Gregory were arrested, charged with fraud, conspiracy, and attempted murder. The family members who had sided with her were left to face the consequences of their actions. As for Evelyn, she emerged from the storm stronger than ever. She had protected Leo and ensured that Victor's wishes were honored. The fortune was safe, and Leo would grow up knowing the truth about his father and the woman who had fought so hard to protect him. The story of the will, the plot, and the fallout became a cautionary tale in Willowbrook, a reminder that greed and manipulation would always be met with justice, and that the truth, no matter how deeply buried, would always come to light. And Evelyn, she continued to live her life with grace and strength, a beacon of light in a world that often seemed dark. She had faced the wolves and emerged victorious, her intuition and integrity intact. Moral of the story: greed and manipulation may seem powerful, but they are no match for integrity, intuition, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. The truth will always find its way to the surface, and those who fight for what is right will always prevail.